Hare Krishna. Today we will be discussing Srimad Bhagavad-Gita As It Is, Chapter 17 of Text 1 Translation, The Divisions of Faith. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of scriptures but worship according to his own imagination? Is he in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? In the 4th chapter, 39th verse, it is said that a person faithful to a particular type of worship gradually becomes elevated to the stage of knowledge and attains the highest perfectional stage of peace and prosperity. In the 16th chapter, it is concluded that one who does not follow the principles laid down in the scriptures is called an asura, demon, and one who follows the scriptural injunctions faithfully is called a deva, or demigod. Now, if one with a faith follows some rules which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions, what is his position? This doubt of Arjuna is to be cleared by Krishna. Are those who create some sort of god by selecting a human being and placing their faith in him, worshipping in goodness, passion, or ignorance? Do such persons attain the perfectional stage of life? Is it possible for them to situate it in a real knowledge and elevate themselves to the highest perfectional stage? Do these who do not follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but who have faith in something and worship gods and demigods and men attain success in their effort? Arjuna is putting these questions to Krishna. Text 2, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. The Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now hear about these. Those who know the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but out of laziness or indolence give up following these rules and regulations, are governed by the modes of material nature. According to their previous activities in the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance, they acquire a nature which is of a specific quality. The association of the living entity with the different modes of nature has been going on perpetually since the living entity is in contact with the material nature. Thus, he acquires different types of mentality according to his association with the material modes. But this nature can be changed if one associates with a bona fide spiritual master and abides by these rules and the scriptures. Gradually one can change his position from ignorance to goodness or from passion to goodness. The conclusion is that blind faith in particular mode of nature cannot help a person become elevated to the perfectional stage. One has to consider things carefully with intelligence in the association of the bona fide spiritual master. Thus one can change his position to a higher mode of nature. Text 3 Translation. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of particular faith according to the modes of he has acquired. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is, but his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant. According to the nature he is acquired, thus according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now the real fact is that every living being, as it is stated in 15th chapter, is originally the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature in conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression, one or some conception of life, still originally he is nirguna or a transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear, Krishna Consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna Consciousness, then the path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to his path of self-realization, then he is surely to be conducted by the influence of the mode of material nature. The word sattva or faith is very significant in this word. Sattva or the faith always come out of the works of a goodness. One's faith may be in a demigod or some created god or some mental concoction. It is supposed to be one's strong faith in something that is productive of the working of material nature. But in a material condition of life, no works of material nature are completely purified. They are mixed, they are not in the pure goodness and transcendental. His purified goodness, one can understand the real nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As long as one's faith is not completely in purified goodness, the faith is subject to a contamination by any of the modes of material nature. The contaminated modes of material nature expanded in the heart. Therefore, according to the position of the heart in contact with a particular mode of material nature, one's faith is established. It should be understood that if one's heart is in the mode of goodness, his faith is also in the mode of goodness. If his heart is in the mode of passion, his faith is also in the mode of passion. And if his heart is in the mode of darkness, illusion, his faith is also thus contaminated. Thus we find different type of faith in this world, and therefore there are different type of religions due to its different types of faith. The real principle of religious faith is situated in the mode of pure goodness, but because the heart is tainted, we find different types of religious principle. Thus according to the different types of faith, there are different kinds of worship. Text 4 translation. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of passion worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghost and spirit. In this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead describes different kind of worshippers according to their external activities. According to the scriptural injunctions, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable, but those who are not in very conversant with or faithful to the scriptural injunctions worship different objects according to their specific situations in the modes of material nature. Those who are situated in goodness generally worship the demigods. The demigods include Brahma, Shiva, and others such as Indra, Chandra, and Sun God. There are various demigods. Those in goodness worship a particular demigod for a particular purpose. Similarly, those who are in the mode of passion worship the demons. We recall that during the Second World War, a man in Calcutta worshipped Hitler because thanks to that war, he had amassed a large amount of wealth by dealing in the black market. Similarly, those in the mode of passion and ignorance generally selected a powerful man to be a god. They think that anyone can be worshipped as a god and that the same results will be obtained. Now, it is clearly described here that those who are in the mode of passion worship and create such gods, and those who are in the mode of ignorance and darkness worship their spirits. Sometimes people worship at the womb of some dead man. Sexual service is also considered to be in the mode of darkness. Similarly, in remote villages in India, there are worshippers of ghosts. We have seen that in India, the lower class of people sometimes go to the forest, and if they have a knowledge that the ghost lives in a tree, they worship the tree and offer sacrifices. These different kind of worships are not actually God worship. God worship is for persons who is transcendentally situated in a pure goodness. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is said, Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sabitatam. When a man is situated in a pure goodness, he worships Vasudeva. The purport is that those who are completely purified by the material modes of nature and who are transcendentally situated can worship a Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonalists are supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness, and they worship 5 kinds of demigods. They worship the impersonal Vishnu or Vishnu from the material world, which is known as a philosophized Vishnu. Vishnu is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the impersonalists, because they do not ultimately believe in Supreme Personality of Godhead, imagine that the Vishnu form is just another aspect of the impersonal Brahman. Similarly, they imagine that the Lord Brahma is the impersonal form in the material mode of passion. Thus, they sometimes describe 5 kinds of gods that are worshipable. But because they think that the actual truth is impersonal Brahman, they dispose all worshipable objects as ultimate end. In conclusion, the different qualities of a material modes of nature can be purified to the association with the persons who are of transcendental nature. Text 5 and 6 translation. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride, egoism, lust and attachment, who are impelled by passion and who torture their bodily organs as well as the super soul dwelling within to be known as demons. There are persons who manufacture modes of austerity and penances which are not mentioned in the scriptural injunctions. For instance, fasting for some ulterior purpose, such as to promote a purely political end, is not mentioned in the spiritual directions. The scriptures recommend fasting for a spiritual advancement, not for some political end or a social purpose. Persons who take such austerities are, according to Bhagavad-Gita, certainly demonic. Their acts are against the scriptural injunctions and are not beneficial for the people in general. Actually, they act out of pride, false ego, lust and attachment for the material enjoyment. By such activities, not only are the combination of the material elements of which the body is constructed disturbed, but also the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself living within the body. Such unauthorized fasting of austerities for some political end are certainly very disturbing to others. They are not mentioned in the Vedic literature. A demonic person may think that he can force his enemy or other parties to comply with his desire by his method. But sometimes one dies by such fasting. These acts are not approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he says that those who engage in them are demons. Such demonstrations are insults to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are enacted in a disobedience to the Vedic scriptural injunctions. The word achetasa is significant in this connection. Persons of a normal mental condition must obey the spiritual injunction. Those who are not in such a position neglect and disobey the scriptures and manufacture their own way of austerities and penances. One should always remember the ultimate end of the demonic people as described in the previous chapter. The Lord forces them to take birth in the womb of a demonic person. Consequently, they will live by demonic principles life after life without knowing the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If, however, such a persons are fortunate enough to be guided by a spiritual master who can direct them to the path of Vedic wisdom, they can get out of this entanglement and ultimately achieve the supreme goal. Now that ends the text 6 of Srimad Bhagavad-Gita As It Is, of chapter 17. Hare Krishna, keep listening. Thank you so much.